Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rene, and thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you more than you even know, or more than I could ever express. I am just so grateful for you. Hi guys, I hope you guys had a good week. Now I'm back with episode 2, MiVidaLoca. MiVidaLoca is my life story. This is my side of the story with the direction of my higher self and guides. I will be discussing topics and scenarios that might be triggering. I might talk about concepts that you may not agree with. I encourage you to just simply take what resonates with you and leave the rest for someone else. I don't judge and I don't compare. I'm in no competition with anyone. It is simply my intention to speak my truth and tell my story to help as many people as possible. It's been an interesting week, to say the least. Now, I left off last week in South Dakota, 17 years old, having been raped by my bus driver. I was staying with my sister and my brother-in-law. He wasn't my brother-in-law at the time. He was dating my sister. They hadn't tied the knot or anything yet. So, yeah, let's start there. All right. So, I was 17 years old in South Dakota. Extremely confused, extremely lost, extremely frustrated, and I had just been filled with the joy of the Holy Spirit, or my solar plexus chakra got activated, however you want to look at it. Both are correct. All it is perception. So I'm here to hopefully help you switch your perception a little bit on things. Things that I was taught were satanic or bad really aren't. But we'll get into that more later. Now, at that time, when I was 17 in South Dakota, I was only there for about a month. I was mostly there I don't even know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. I was really just, sincerely, I was doing the best that I could with what I had, you guys. And what's really sad is I skipped over a couple of incidences that had happened earlier in my lifetime, but I'm going to probably end up picking those up later in a different story. So I'm going to continue down this path with this story without any backtracking. I'm sure it will come up later. All right. So it came to the point where I was like, well, I really wanted to go home. I really honestly just wanted to go home, and I ended up back in Riverside. I don't remember the bus ride home. I don't remember leaving. I don't remember packing. I don't remember any of that. Again, it's so weird. When I got back to Riverside with my parents, it was under the pretense that I was going to go to rehab. So when I came back to Riverside, I went right to my parents' house, and we tried to get me into rehab. I went directly we called around. My parents had Kaiser, so we ended up going to Fontana and see if they would take me, and they wouldn't. They would not take me because I had been off meth for a month. Honestly. And I honestly thought at that point that I was going to die. I thought in my heart I was going to die in my addiction because I couldn't even, I asked for help. And I don't think people understand how difficult it is to ask for help. Especially when you're at the most desperate point in your entire life. And you've been raped and you have no one to talk to about it. You can't be honest because you really don't want your parents to suffer. I didn't want my parents to suffer for my actions and my behavior. I really didn't. I cared about them, and I carried all of that. So I was still carrying, my rapes and everything. I had been touched and grabbed. I had been, unfortunately, I was raped at my sister's house when she lived in San Jacinto. She was upstairs when that happened. I was only 14. You know, I really didn't want to backtrack, but here we are. I guess my guides just really want me to get it out, and that's fine. I'm always going to follow my internal guidance. Okay? So, rehabs didn't want to take me, and I couldn't stand living with my parents, really. I mean, honestly. So, I went back out, and I started using again, and this time, I ended up with, let's see here. I ended up with Donnie Ray, and this person was extremely abusive. He actually hit me the first night I ever spent the night with him. And I was so inexperienced, I really didn't understand. I didn't understand what just happened. In fact, I was in shock, I think, that it even happened, because nothing like that has ever happened to me before. Like, why would you hit me? I was sleeping. And this dude, this guy thought I was flirting with his roommate while I was sleeping. Like, literally, I was asleep, guys. Literally passed the fuck out. And I woke up to him hitting me. I should have left that night. I don't even know what kept me there. I'm gonna be honest. Oh yeah, I didn't want to live with my parents. That was pretty awful. So, anyways, I stayed with this guy. I ended up staying with this guy, and we ended up living in his car. He had a Chevy Impala Classic. It was an 86. It was a boat. It was a huge boat. And we ended up living in the car, basically. And this guy was so paranoid and delusional about me, and I was loyal. I mean, so somewhat loyal, you know. I was loyal because I was with him 24/7. Like, where was I going to go anyway? Just saying. Like, what was I doing? I want you to know that if you're in a relationship where someone's putting their hands on you, I want you to please reach out and get some help. Okay? 988 is the suicide line as well. Okay? So please reach out. Don't let people put their hands on you. Ever. It's never worth it. Okay? So I ended up staying with this dude. I ended up fighting back, because when someone hits me, I fight back. I just do. It's my reflex. It's actually a built-in reflex that you have. So if someone's beating you up, you can literally fight back. And I ended up staying with this guy. We were in motels because he ended up getting a car accident and totaling the car, and it got towed. And we didn't have anywhere to live anymore. So then we were living in abandoned houses. So at that point, we were like, okay. So we basically were shoplifting to make a living, to live on. And I made enough money to live on. I was the one doing it all. He forced me to go in 3 to 4 times a day. I was expecting to get caught, like, every single time, but I never did. Really weird. But anyways, we were staying in the motels, and he ended up getting some bad dope, speed, meth, whatever you want to call it. And I smoked it. He made me smoke it, and I ended up getting double pneumonia. And it was so bad that I almost died. I was in the hospital. They gave me penicillin to the vein. I've never seen them do that before, but they literally shot my vein up with penicillin. I was dying from whatever this chemical was that I smoked. Thanks a lot to whoever did that. They obviously didn't do it to me, but I was there. Unfortunately, I suffered the consequences of that. And I still have lung damage to this day because of it, unfortunately. So I'm in the hospital, My dad takes me, and my dad, like I said, they were just so, I don't even know, they must have just been so caught up in their own world that they couldn't see how abusive he was to me. Like, I thought I told them that he beat me, and they still, like, let him come around and, like, gave him a hug when we left and shit. It was the weirdest shit. I don't understand why my parents couldn't stick up for me. Like, I don't understand why that never happened. I needed my parents to stand up for me. I needed that. And I didn't have that, you guys. So, I'm with this abuser. I'm using meth. I get super sick. The penicillin helps, though. I get well. I do heal. I move on. And we end up in Phoenix on the bus. We got on a Greyhound. We went to Phoenix. This is the year that, it was the year that the Super Bowl was in there. It was like one of the first times. And, so all the hotels were booked. And my friend Christina happened to have the hookup for a room. And so she got us a room, which was rare. And then got us another room for the second night somewhere else. She came in the morning and picked me up and took us to church and stuff. And while we were in church, she was like sitting here looking at me, and like I was messed up, you guys. I was really sick. I was really close to death. I had almost died twice with this guy already, and I needed help. So Christina was the only friend, the only person to stand up for me, and she kicked him out of the car and took me. He grabbed me by my throat and like picked me up out of the car, and took the money from me because I had the money, and I tried anyway. Anyway, he ended up with the money and all of it. I ended up getting to the motel to get my shit out as quickly as possible, and we left. And she took me, and I ended up staying in a battered women's shelter in Phoenix that's called the Sojourner Center. Sojourner Center. They're still there. They're still helping women. If you feel the need to donate, please do. I'm sure they could use all of your donations, clothes, and for kids, they help kids too. It's mothers and children that have escaped abusive relationships. In fact, when I was there, one of the ladies was getting interviewed because the abuse that she had survived. I mean, she was beaten so badly that you couldn't recognize her. And so they were like interviewing her, like obviously not her face, but she was sticking up for our rights, women's rights, you guys. And I was in this battered women's shelter. I had no idea what the hell I was doing, but I needed to be there. I knew I needed to be there. And the simplest things, like we had a class on Wednesdays, and they taught me about being assertive. And it was just like, I don't know, it was something I never learned. How to be assertive. What is that? You know, my parents were extremely inconsistent with their behavior and their emotions. They didn't handle their emotions properly, and they didn't handle, like, I hate to say properly, but I would say in a non-toxic way. We'll just put it that way. My parents were extremely toxic, and so anyways, I'm in this battered women's shelter. And I make friends with the ladies there, and I was like the youngest one there because I was barely 18. I barely just turned 18, and I had my driver's license, and the ladies there were extremely kind. I ended up getting a job at Carl's Jr., and I worked at Carl's Jr. there. I was an opener. So I went first thing in the morning to open and set up the salad bar. And I did drive-through. I ended up making friends there too. Unfortunately, I was on the run. I wasn't ready to deal with my shit yet. And I ended up hooking up with one of the other ladies' daughters who was the same age as me from Montana. And her name was Destiny. And she taught me, like, her mom was there with her other babies, sister, I think, and brother, possibly, and she was there we ended up hanging out, and we ended up partying, unfortunately. And we ended up getting kicked out of the shelter because they had curfew at 8 o'clock. And they're, of course, very strict. And the strictness was to protect the ladies there and the children there, okay? It had nothing to do with trying to control people. It was just to protect people, okay? Unless you had a job or something substantial like that. Curfew is 8 o'clock, and you had to be there, all right? So I fuck up, and I get kicked out, and I end up turning tricks. So I'm in Phoenix on Van Buren turning tricks, and I end up learning how the pimp industry works. I ended up learning like what out of pocket was, and like just there's this game in this world. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's out of this world, you guys. The shit that I've been through. I'm doing my best not to leave anything out, but I'm literally running the streets with her, and her brother's a pimp, all right? And so her brother's a pimp, and I end up running around with these people, and because I didn't want a pimp, I didn't want someone to take all my money. See, that's what a pimp does. A pimp takes all the money, holds all the money, all right? And they also, they're supposed to protect you. They're supposed to offer protection. But that didn't happen. So I was like not giving my money up to anybody. I kept it myself. I ended up we used to just tell everyone that she was my pimp. That's how we ran that. And we ended up getting a sugar daddy. And the sugar daddy, like his name, what was it? Willie or something. And oh man. It was crazy. He took us to this club, and I'm not racist at all. I told you that already. So I go in this club, and every single person, I'm the only white person in there, okay? I'm the only white person in there, and I got a lot of static for that, okay? Just the looks and the energy of me even being in there, I was extremely uncomfortable. That's because my roommate and of course the sugar daddy, they were black too. So I was the only white person. Which so I was like, I go in there, and they have me a seat at the bar, and they're standing room only too. So I was just extremely uncomfortable because of the hate I was getting. You know, no, I never shown hate like that. I'm not that kind of person. So, I don't hate people. You can shade me all you want. That's fine. Whatever you got to do. I don't hate people. That's just how I am. And I don't judge people. Most of the people that raped me were not white. Okay? I'll just put it that way. And I don't hold a grudge because I can't judge one person. I can't judge an entire race for one person. Right? That's messed up. All right? So, just because there's bad people everywhere, in every race, in every country. And so I just choose to judge character, okay, not externally. So I'm a person that judges character. So anyways, guys, oh my God, I'm like running amok. I'm walking the street. I end up doing acid, and I mean, just doing crazy shit. I'm turning tricks, and I can't even look at myself in the mirror. Like, I am just dead inside. I felt dead inside, you know. Not only that, I mean, I was in extremely dangerous circumstances quite often. One of the tricks took me and tried to have his way with me. I got to be honest with you, I kicked the shit out of him because I was wearing heels. I had like 6-inch heels on, and I kicked the shit out of this guy because I had enough. I was done giving my body away, and I literally had to walk, though it sucked. I had to walk far to get back home or wherever, but fuck that, you know. I had dangerous shit happening to me, and then I got robbed at gunpoint. This person put a gun to my neck, and I'm just like, get the fucking gun away from me. And that's how I was. Like, I was fearless. I didn't care. I didn't care. I was dead inside. I thought I was going to die anyway. I tried to go to rehab. I couldn't even do that. I tried to go to a shelter, and I couldn't even do that. I couldn't even keep my shit together long enough, to get help and get on my feet. I was a mess. I felt awful. This whole time, I felt terrible. The feelings that I had inside were awful. And I was never dealing with it still. None of that shit came out until later, So anyways, I'm turning tricks. I'm running amok. I end up staying in the La Quinta. It was near the fairgrounds there in Phoenix. And I know that much because when I walked to the fairgrounds, it was fairly close. That's how I know. So I end up finding a carny. And his name was Joseph Sweeney. And I ended up just hooking up with him, and we were inseparable. And he was like my best friend. And I found out that he was born September 2nd. Like, he was a Virgo too. We were doing meth together, and he was absolutely infatuated with me. Absolutely in love with me. And so I was like, yeah, we'll go. And him and his brother, we ended up, I asked them if they could bring me back to California. And that's where they were headed next, was, I believe, I'm not sure if it was San Bernardino, Riverside, or Orange County, or LA, but they were coming out here next after Phoenix. The carnival was. So I ended up getting a ride with them. And what's crazy is when I went to go get my stuff from Destiny, from the hotel, she was with Willie and literally took all of my stuff. She took all of my stuff, man. And I was left with nothing. I had a giant Yosemite Sam and my leather jacket and my ass. That's fucking all I had. I had like a black dress and some shoes. And that was it, you guys. I literally had fucking nothing again. And I ended up, okay, fuck it, let's just go. So we ended up back in Riverside. And we get to my parents' house at like, I don't know, 3 in the morning. So we just chill for a while. But just crazy shit. They ended up dropping me off with my mom and dad and then coming back later to pick me up. But I wanted to spend some time with my daughter and everything, because I had left my daughter, which was super hard for me. She had always had a heartstring, so every so often I would have to go home because I would be pulled by my heartstring to come home and check in with her and make sure that she's okay and give her love and let her love on me because she was little. But I wasn't done yet, unfortunately. So in a way, my parents did help me out by taking her so that I could do what I needed to do. In this lifetime, I had a lot of loose ends to tie up as far as generational curses. I was breaking cycles in my family, generational cycles. I had no idea. I was dealing with karma, clearing karma from my generational lines and my family lines. I had no idea. All the time I spent out there in drug addiction, I was clearing karma. I was clearing all of that nastiness because this is an ascension cycle. Anyways, we'll get into that later. But so, anyways, I'm in Riverside again, and I decide that I'm not going to stay. I end up going with them on the road, and they ended up leaving the carnival, and we started across the United States, and we were going initially just driving back to Massachusetts, I believe, which is where they were from, and we ended up stopping along the way, and I was doing my thing in order to make money. So I was shoplifting across the country. And I was, not using a lot, but just, gosh, I just felt so disconnected. So disconnected from source, so disconnected from myself, And I just kept running and running and running and running and running until I couldn't run anymore. But we went all the way across country. And we go through South Dakota. I see my sister. I meet my nephew, Jonathan. And I see the rest of the family. And they try to get me to stay there. And I'm like, nope, I'm out. So I kept going. And we got as far east as Toledo, Ohio. And I was like, I don't really want to go to Massachusetts. Let's do something else. I don't know. Let's go do something else. And so Joe and I just got out and we decided that we were going to hitchhike. And we hitchhiked in big trucks from Toledo, Ohio, all the way back to California, back and forth across the country, up and down, left and right, through Texas, New Mexico, Tennessee, parts of Kentucky, South Dakota, Arkansas, Minnesota is where the Mall of America is. And I got as far as the Mall of America, you guys. And of course, as a shoplifter, it was pretty grandiose of me to think I could get away with it there, right? This place has a freaking Knott's Berry Farm in the middle of it. All right. So if you've never been to the Mall of America, yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's huge, like giant. And we have a giant mall out here too. Ontario Mills is huge as well, but it doesn't have a Knott's Berry Farm in the middle of it. So Mall of America, Knott's Berry Farm in the middle of it. And I decide that I'm going to shoplift from, I can't remember what store it was now. And I get caught. I'm caught at the Mall of America. And they put me in this jail, and it's just like on TV. Like, I'm from Southern California, guys, where the jails are huge, you know, multi-level. I get arrested, and I go to this jail cell. It's like on TV. They buy me Burger King for dinner. And the whole time, Joe is out there trying to hustle up money to get me bailed out. And he bails me out. It was $50. He got me. I get out. And we ended up like really hungry. I remember we were starving. This is how God works, by the way, too. We were really, really hungry. So, and he had just hustled his ass off all day without eating, trying to get me out of jail. So we end up going to Denny's, and I go in, and I forgot that we stopped somewhere. We got picked up somewhere and ended up going back, and this person gave us a card. They gave us a free car that had been sitting. So it had been sitting, but it ran, and it got us as far as the Mall of America, and it died because it needed a fuel filter. A fuel filter was, I know this because I know mechanical stuff a little bit, but it needed a fuel filter. It was clogged, you know, and that's kind of what happens when you have a vehicle that's been sitting for years. So anyways, we get this car and we go to Denny's. Like, I'm out of jail. He gets me. I go in Denny's. I'm like, we're starving. Is there any way that we could get some food? We have no money, you know. And they hook us up. They give us a meal, whatever it was. And I was really grateful. And we ended up giving them the key to the car. Like, here's this car. It's broken. Go get it. You know, there you go. And we end up on our way just hitchhiking. But I remember, like, Des Moines, Iowa. I remember, like, just being in the middle of cornfields, just carrying my shit on my back and walking for miles, you know. It's just, I've seen so much of this country. It's absolutely beautiful. I wish I would have done it in a different way, but it was the only time in my life that I was actually able to travel and see this country. And so I don't regret any of it. I really, I partied. We had fun. We did a lot of drinking and that kind of stuff, but I never really liked alcohol a lot. I never really did, to be honest with you. But so we get there. Let's see here. Hold on one second. Trying to remember. So we're hitchhiking. And we end up getting picked up by this trucker that is from Michigan. Wisconsin. Wisconsin. Sorry. And we ride all the way to Sacramento with him. And all the way back to Wisconsin. And he takes us to his girlfriend, and like we were gonna chill with them and hang out because he thought we were cool people, and we were. Took us home to keep us or to help us out, get us off the streets or whatever. But yeah, we ended up staying with them for a few, but it wasn't meant to be, guys. It wasn't meant for me to stay there. It wasn't meant for us to stay there. So we got back on the road, and we ended up getting all the way to, let's see here. Oh wait, Austin, Texas. we get down to Austin, Texas, And we get in a truck with I remember it was a big red truck, and he took us all the way to Ripon, California, and he said he would be right back, and he left with everything. I literally left everything in the truck, and we had the clothes on our back. Nothing left. On the side of the road, him and I, not knowing what the fuck we're gonna do, you know. So in case you don't know, if you are traveling this country and you run out of money, you can go to the police department in most cities, and they have some kind of fund that will get you a motel room or help you out with some gas money. And you do have to go to the police station. And we found out that if we went to the police station, they would get us a motel room and stuff. So we've used that option a couple of times, which is amazing. Okay, so in case you're unaware, if you're traveling through and you don't have anywhere to go, you can stop at a police station, and a lot of times they will have some kind of funding to get you a motel. All right? They didn't help with food, but they did help us with the motel and the shower, and that was great, you know, because when you're on the road like that, you don't really get to shower a lot. You're just, you know, you kind of shower when you get a chance, when you're at a truck stop, or like when you get a motel, and it was rare. So anyways, I'm just a crazy person. But we end up going back to, Ripon. So we leave there, we're on the highway, and we're hitchhiking, and we end up getting picked up by this couple that took us home. Her name, I can't remember, but her husband's name was Les, and he was a retired sheriff. And everyone that picked us up from hitchhiking in a car, every single car had a Bible. Every single one of them had a Bible in there. I know this. And I remember I was testing God in front of Joe, and I said, this next car is going to pull over for us, and they're going to have a Bible. And they pulled over, and there was a Bible there. And it was the only time I instant manifested anything. I don't know how I was doing it. I just know that I believed it so blindly that we were going to be okay, and that we were going to have our next meal, and that we were going to have somewhere to go. And I don't know where that blind faith came from. I wish I had it now. I'm going to be honest, because I literally manifested instantaneously, guys. I would get us rides, and we would meals, you name it. And it was all the universe doing for me what I could not do for myself. I was literally like putting myself out there, and God was there. My guides were there. The ascended masters were there the whole time. They never left me. They never leave you, ever. No matter where you go on this earth plane, no matter where you go, what you do, they never leave you, ever. So we get in this car, and they take us home, and we end up living in Tracy, California. They lived off Cassin Road, 30,000 Cassin. And it was like, almost like a mobile home park, but it was like houses. So you rent the lot, but you own the house on the property there. And I ended up living there for quite a while, several months. We ended up moving in with their child, Tom and Rachel. Tom and Rachel Young. Rachel at the time was going to nursing school, and they were just the coolest people. They let us literally live there, rent a room with their kids. Their kids were there. Like they just took us in like part of their family, you know. We were safe though. I mean, we were safe. We would never harm anyone. We didn't want to hurt anyone. I was always big on karma. All right, so I always believed in karma was real, and I always believed in karma because it was proven. So we ended up staying there for a while, but then I always like I said, my heartstrings started pulling on me, and I want to go home to my daughter. I want to see my baby. So I ended up going home, and we went home. We got on an airplane and flew from Oakland to Ontario and went home. And I remember specifically telling this guy, Joe, when I told him, I said, Joe, if we start doing meth, That's going to be the end of it. And at the time, it was just weed. But unfortunately, we started meth. And the first time I ever did needles, I used needles. But I was only with meth. I didn't do anything else. And the first time I did it was in the Palace Station, Las Vegas. And I remember the first time I got shot up, I saw shadow people. And it almost I want to say it almost woke me up from this lifetime, because I don't believe in death. I believe in reincarnation. We don't really die. Energy doesn't die. It just continues in a different form. And if you look up how much you can actually visually see with your human body, with your human eyes, yeah, trust me, we can't see shit. All right, so there's a lot of shit we can't see. Anyways, I literally almost knocked myself back into a next life. and I was hooked. I was hooked on that. I was hooked on needles for a while. I shared needles. We bleached in between use. It was really weird. Like, we used needles, but we didn't want to share, like, anything. Like, if anyone had AIDS or if anyone had hepatitis, the bleach killed it. So you would bleach the needles in between use. So you wouldn't share that, you know? Anyways, we did all that. Just sickness, guys. All because I didn't deal with my shit. All because I couldn't deal with my emotions. All because I couldn't be honest. Everything that was going on in my life at that point was because I was hooked on dope. And I lost hope. I had no hope of sobriety. Like, remember, I had gone to rehab. And they said they couldn't help me. You know? So why would I go back and ask for help again if they said they couldn't help me the first time, right? I literally thought I was going to die. I gave up. I was doing almost full needles of fucking meth. Sorry. I gave up, though. I kind of just didn't want to live anymore. I gave up. So, I'm going along, and we ended up... He ends up going to jail. We ended up, like, doing something stupid at a Radio Shack, and the person chased after him with a broom, and Joe grabbed the broom and, like, hit him with it. Well, he was coming at us with the broom. And so Joe grabbed the broom and hit him with it. I mean, so he ends up going to jail over that. And the cops were like, you know, oh, wait. I got to back up, you guys. So we did that. That's what he ultimately went to jail for. Now, when we got arrested, though, that was another story. So let me back up. We are at San Manuel Indian Casino in San Bernardino. And if you know where that is, up the road from Patton Hospital. And we go, and we're there all night. It's awful. We're coming down. We have no money. We have nothing. We have no ride. We end up walking from Highland to Norco, from Baseline all the way to Hamner, and Hamner all the way up. That's how it was. It was awful. It sucked. We walked the entire night. And we were extremely dehydrated and tired. But by the time we got to Norco, I called and we got a ride. But the person that picked us up is somebody that we had stole from, and she set us up to get arrested. So we got pulled over. She set us up. She called the cops and had us arrested. She had us. She got pulled over. We got arrested at gunpoint. We go to jail. The cops looking at me like, she takes the weed I have and puts it in her pocket and says, well, I didn't see this, you know. And she throws it away or whatever and lets me go. Joe goes down. He goes down. He gets arrested. He takes the rap, whatever you want to call it. He takes the rap for me and everything. So he's in jail and I'm out and I'm staying with my parents, and I ended up finding, I was hanging out with some other lady. Her name was Erlene, and she took me, and like, she would not take me home. It was amazing. Like, lady, take me home. She wouldn't take me home. She just wanted me to hang out with her. But anyways, I met a boyfriend of mine there, so I ended up getting introduced to Daryl, and I really liked him, and he liked me. So I went ahead and I went to jail, and I visited Joe, and I broke up with him. I broke up with him because I don't cheat like that. Like, I'm not that kind of person. And Joe was like my really good friend. And so because we were really good friends and we had gone through so much, I didn't have a problem telling him the truth, like what was going on. And one thing too, while I was with Joe, I had a friend of ours, and this is messed up. I'm sorry if this has ever happened to you. But anyways, I was with our friend that we got dope from, and he ended up doing a dose with me and took advantage of me. So he took advantage of me being extremely high, that I really wasn't in my mind. I don't know how to tell it. Like, when you do a dose, you're not really in your mind, okay? You're not really in your right mind, okay? So I wasn't in my mind. It was a huge dose. I was out of my mind, and he took advantage of me. And yeah, I'm sorry if that ever happened to you. That was wrong, and that was rape too. That was wrong. And I ended up telling Joe about it. It was awful. But I felt guilty, but then at the same time, I have to realize that he took advantage of me because I'm an addict. All right, because I was high. So anyways, I break up with Joe, and I'm dating this guy, Daryl. Now, Daryl tried to help me clean up. Daryl got off drugs. He stopped selling drugs. He didn't do anything. He only drank, and he never even drove. If he drank, he would never drive because he had a DUI before. And so he never did anything. He stayed at home, and he worked. He worked at a company called Harmon Industries, and it was bought out by GE. But while I was with Daryl, now Daryl was amazing. He was an amazing boyfriend. I was awful. I was extremely sick. I ended up getting physically sick. I had ovarian cysts and other issues that he stood by me. He also helped me get my record clear. I went and turned myself in. I ended up doing weekends on work release. He took me every weekend. I would do my work release until I was done. I finished it. I also went to I had to go to a drug class because of drug use. So I did all that. I finished all of that. I did good. I tried, but the problem was I wasn't dealing with my trauma. No one ever addressed my trauma. So unfortunately, I had a lot of shit I was running from I didn't know I was running from. So Daryl taught me how to build computers. Back then, hard drives were 1.2 gigs. And he taught me everything about computers. I learned how to build them, how to make them operate, install programs, type. He taught me how to write a resume. He taught me how to find a job, like job hunting. He taught me how to do all of that. He taught me how to be a good girlfriend. Like, he taught me what a good boyfriend actually was. Like, really, like working and paying the bills and all of that, like being a responsible human being on this planet. And I never had that before. Like, I was too busy partying, having a good time, running from my emotions, and not dealing with my shit. So Daryl was an extremely good guy. He took me to Laughlin for my 21st birthday, but I just couldn't stay clean. I was doing meth behind his back. I would bring meth in his house. He didn't know. I'd be up all night in bed, laying there while he was asleep. And yeah, I just couldn't keep it together. My car, I had bought a Camaro. My first car was a Camaro Z28. It was a 5-speed. And it had T-tops. It was gold and black. I miss it. And I bought that car while I was with him. I saved up, like I was saving money. He helped me save money to get it and all of it. Like, he literally helped me so much. Like, he helped me save my own money. I was putting money away every week, like saving it so I could buy my car. And like, he was showing me how to do stuff, how things needed to be done. Good guy. But I fucked up, and I was cheating on him. I was messing around with. I would take his car to the to the trap house or the dope house, the meth house, and I mean, I would go with the intention of just getting a little dope, but end up spending my whole check, and I would get everyone in the house high. So I was that kind of person. They loved it. I would come in. When I would come over, everyone else would get kicked out because I would come in with money, and I would get everyone high. And they loved it. And I loved them, though. I really, really, really loved these people with my heart. Remembered that I had been filled with the joy of the Holy Spirit, so I was no longer moping around sad. I was looking for the golden lining, the silver lining. I was looking for the benefit. I was looking for the good. I was no longer sitting in the bad. Even though I was struggling, that spirit was there. That spirit had been activated. And I called it my God consciousness, because my God consciousness, my inner self, my spirit was the one thing inside of me that was constantly going, this isn't right. This isn't right. You need to get your shit together. You don't be doing drugs. Don't be selling your body. Don't be cheating on him. You know, my consciousness was there. Constantly just boom. Don't do this. That's not right. This is not okay. And I don't know if anyone else has got that guidance, but I did. And it messed with me. It ruined my addiction, let me just say, because every time I would use, I would get that voice that would say, you don't need to be here. You need to get out of here. This is not where you need to be. This is not the place that you need to be. This is temporary. This isn't permanent. And I remember just over and over and over, because remember, I thought I was going to die in my addiction. I thought that, but I couldn't even overdose. I was doing like full needles of meth and I wasn't dying. I was like, what the fuck? I had just built up my tolerance so much and it didn't kill me. I was super surprised. So I ended up breaking up with Daryl, or he broke up with me, actually. He broke up with me. I deserved it because I lied to him about my money. I went to go get the money I had been saving, because I was going to use it for meth and drugs. And he asked me what it was for. And I lied. And he found out. So he broke up with me. Legitimately. I had it coming. I deserved it. But at that point, I kind of lost my mind. I went off the deep end. And I really was just trying to die. I had a boyfriend that was super psycho. Not all there. I don't think this person, I don't know what capacity. They didn't have they were not on the same level as me. Let me just put it. I don't think they had the capacity at all to be, I don't even know. I don't even know how to describe this person. Good person, nothing bad about him, very sick, all right? And this person was related to Howard Stern. So this person would get gifts from Howard Stern because that was their relative. And this person's parents lived across the street from the Crystal Cathedral. I remember that. We ended up taking a bus to Orange County and going to the Crystal, not to the Crystal Cathedral, but they lived right across the street from the Crystal Cathedral, which is freaking amazing. If you've never seen that, go look it up. It's absolutely gorgeous. So I'm hanging out with these people. They're well-to-do, and basically just trying to get some money from them so that we could get a motel, or not a motel, an apartment, sorry. But I was living in motels, so we were trying to get an apartment, but they wouldn't give them the money to do that. So we ended up just partying and going into motels, and I blew this kid's mind. Like, I literally blew this kid's mind. I was just way too much for this person. But I helped him out a lot, I think, with spiritual stuff. My guides are telling me. So anyways, I'm with Angelo. And he ends up getting arrested, of course, because we're running amok and we're doing stupid shit. And we're not being careful. And so, yeah, he gets arrested. I'm back on the street. Now I start turning tricks in Riverside, on La Sierra, and Magnolia, and basically my hometown, which is not a host role, but it was for me. And I ended up turning tricks, and I lived right down the street from my parents, and it sucked because I was always like, oh my God, that's my parents' car, and I would have to hide or something. It was awful, you guys. I was so ashamed of what I was doing, but I just didn't have any hope. I thought I was going to die. I had suffered a lot of loss. I didn't know how much loss exactly I had been struggling with. I mean, I had actually experienced until I looked back and I was like, damn, I've dealt with so much loss. There's so much loss that I've dealt with that I never dealt with actually until now. You know, I never dealt with that loss until now. And it was really, really awful place to be, where you can't look in yourself. Like, you look in the mirror and you just can't even look in your own eyes. You're just checking to see how you look and move on. And I just couldn't even look at myself. And I ended up running with some dangerous people. These people run white gangs in prison. It starts with an N. That's all I'm going to say. And these people were, they run prison gang out in the streets. So the prison gang that they had in prison, they brought out to the streets. And so I was running with them. And these people were extremely dangerous. One of the people actually killed a friend of ours, Frankie Torres. He was my friend. He ended up getting shot, I believe, by one of these people that I was hanging out with, you know. Extremely dangerous, with guns, all the nine, all of it. Out of my mind. But my consciousness was like, you know what, you need to get out of here, you know, because I didn't want to go to prison. And these people were going to prison for, like, actually doing actual shit. Like, not just using dope and trying to come up, but actually hurting people and stuff. And that's not what I was about. I was nothing like that. So I ended up leaving my motel room to them and just letting them have everything in there and taking my stuff the best I could and just living by myself in the motel rooms and taking care of myself and not having anyone with me, which was weird for the first time. But that didn't last long, because in 1999 I got arrested 3 times. I got arrested in April, and I was in a week. I got arrested in September, and then I got arrested again in December. And each time I got out, I just kept going right back to the same people, right back to the same stuff, right back to the same shit. I didn't know any different. Remember that I went to rehab and they said they couldn't help me, so I wasn't going to ask again. So, let's see here. And Daryl tried to come get me from the motels, but I was literally hanging out with groups of people that were actually kind of racist because of prison. And because they brought the rules out to the streets. You know, it was kind of like that. So, and that wasn't me. That's not, you know, I'm nothing like that. I'm open, and Daryl was black. So I was like, oh my God, he's going to get me killed or whatever. He's going to get himself killed because of people I was with. So I told him no, and I told him to leave, and he left. I ended up getting a job, though, and living in the motels and just being an awful employee, staying in the bathroom the whole time, smoking meth. Just awful. Running. And the last time I got arrested was on December 10th, 1999. And I got arrested because I got narked on. I had been stealing checks from people's mailboxes and washing them and then rewriting them. And this was not my gig. I was not very good at it. And so because of that, yeah, I got caught. And that's what happens, you know, because that's not my gig. That wasn't my thing. And also, I was taught that I can't steal from individuals ever. I am not allowed to hurt another human being on this planet. And that was my consequences. I had huge, massive consequences every single time I hurt an individual. And so, because of that continuously happening, I just stopped hurting other individuals. I stopped lying. I stopped cheating. I stopped being shisty. And I did my best not to be toxic. to people's faces. I never talked shit about people. I was upfront, honest with people, and I was as authentic as I possibly could be at the time, even though I was extremely sick and ill and on meth and had track up my arm from where I was sticking needles in my arm and just craziness. Sticking needles in my neck, you guys. Like, I really just had a death sentence, you know. But I'm glad I made it, and I want to stop there because I'm going to get into some really good stuff, but this is when I get sober. So I'm going to stop at December 10th, 1999, the day I got sober, the day I got arrested, and I actually got sober and got my shit together, guys. It's not all bad, and if you stuck with me through this episode, I want you to know that I appreciate you more than you imagine. The pain that I suffered is unimaginable. And I don't want anyone to ever have to go through what I went through. And I'm really sorry for hurting you if I hurt you. You know, if you're listening and I hurt you, I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you individually because I was really sick. And I had been through so much loss and trauma that I had no idea just how much I was running from. I had no idea just how much I was holding in. And the best part of my life hasn't happened yet, you guys. So hang in there with me until my next episode. I hope you tune in next week. I love you. And I wish you the best. You know, the best is yet to come, you guys. Our best day hasn't happened yet. Hang in there. I love you. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next episode. Peace.